Hi, good evening. I'm Advocate Aishwarya Sandeep, and I'm a media and entertainment lawyer based out of Mumbai. So today we'll be learning about sports sponsorship agreement. Now, as you know, the marathon season is almost over, and until a few days ago, we had our cricket matches, and I'm sure you also conduct various competitions in your colleges. And sports has taken a more corporate version. Sports used to be earlier we used to play sports just for the sake of entertainment, but now it has taken a very different route. So in today's session we are going to talk about how to draft a sports sponsorship agreement. Now let me start with a very simple question. Have you ever seen a marathon where you have the brand name everywhere, whether it's on t-shirts, banners, bibs, social media? So this visibility is not something that's very random. It is governed by a legally drafted sponsorship agreement, and today that is what I'm going to teach you. It's not just a theory, but also actually how to draft it in this one practice. Now before we proceed, let's go ahead with what exactly is a sports sponsorship agreement. So when I talk about sports sponsorship agreement, it is basically a commercial agreement between uh, you know the event organizer. For example, if it's XYZ group which is organizing a marathon, and the sponsor, in this case I have created a draft of an a cold drink brand which is the sponsor for this particular marathon event. Okay, so the agreement we are going to learn about is a marathon organizer and the cold drink company. Now, what exactly does the sponsor provide? He provides you money, products, or services. These are the three things that a sponsor can provide. Now, why am I telling you this thing? Because according to Contract Act, you need to have a legally valid consideration. What do they receive in return of giving you all these things? They receive branding, they receive visibility, and they also get something that's called as marketing rights. Those logos that you see on the t-shirts, bibs, etc., those are your marketing rights. So technically speaking, this agreement is governed by three laws. One is the Indian Contract Act. Then comes your principles of commercial contracts. And as I said, nowadays these events are more glamorized, and it's taking a very different turn. So therefore, IP and media law is also considered these days. Okay, so let's proceed further. This is what I just spoke about. Now, what exactly are the clauses that one would include in these agreements? So before that, I'll just quickly explain you one small thing. That is, what are the different types of sponsorship agreements that you enter into? You must have seen, when you pitch for your college festivals, you have different types of sponsors. You have gold sponsor, title sponsor, etc. So you have a title sponsor, which is usually the most premium one, which will have the title, that is Standard Chartered Mumbai Marathon. So Standard Chartered is the main sponsor. Then you have the gold sponsor who usually gets the premium visibility. You have associate sponsor. Now, associate sponsors, you can have many. You have official sponsors or official partners who partner to provide one certain facility. Okay. Now, why do you need to know about it? When you are drafting a sponsorship agreement, you should know that in which category your client specifically wants a particular contract. It can't be a very random document. Okay, you need to know. Okay, if it's a title sponsor, that means it has to be a more elaborate. There will be more rights which will be given. It's very important to know these details during your negotiation. Most of the times, the mistakes I have seen, lawyers making is they use a standard clause. Using a standard clause for all the documents is nothing but suicide. Okay. if you genuinely want a good agreement, every single agreement has to be customized. You cannot use the same clause copy pasted everywhere. I may teach you one agreement draft. It will only help you to, reaching a certain point. After that, the customization will be based on your client's input. As I always say in all my drafting sessions, that legal drafting is never about how much you as a lawyer knows. Legal drafting is always about giving your client the thing that they want. Okay, so this is something that you always need to remember while drafting. Another thing that one needs to remember is you have to keep your queries ready. You can just drop it in the chat box. I can read the queries and answer them during the section itself. So proceeding further, now I'll just come back. I'm sorry, I got deviated a bit. Let's talk about key clauses or basic clauses that you're going to use. What is definitely the parties? That is, who are the parties? When I talk about the parties clause, the reason why I elaborate it or explain it is, usually when it's a commercial agreement, it's never two individuals who are entering. Okay, it will always be two companies. And as everybody knows, company is an artificial person. A company is not a natural person. A company has to be represented by someone who is a human being. So your agreement will always begin with, this agreement has been entered into by and between ABC company, represented through its director, if it's a director, who is appointed by board resolution dated ABCD. Okay, then you will give the details and the date of the board resolution. If a company is entering into an agreement, a board resolution is something that you have to insist as a lawyer. Then comes your definitions. If there are certain definitions, certain terms that you're going to repeatedly use. Okay, instead of saying title sponsor has A, B, C, D things that will be given, I will just mention it in the definition. Then comes your scope of sponsorship. Now, okay, you are a title sponsor, so you are going to get A, B, C, D privileges for the same. What are the rights and benefits? I'm giving you so much money. What is it that I am getting in return? You need to understand, when you are drafting a sponsorship agreement, the return is not something that you will get immediately. Most of the times, what brands would go for is visibility. Suppose you are conducting a marathon. Okay, you are from a cold drink company. You cannot expect that, I will set up my stall over here, and in return, I want that 100 people should buy my cold drink within next 1 month. This is not possible. It's a very difficult challenge, because I also know sometimes clients come up with very ridiculous clauses. So you have to understand how a particular market works. You need to use more of your common sense and your logic. Okay. Before drafting, before learning the technical points, you have to understand how every industry works. If a brand is coming in as sponsor for a marathon event, the maximum they will look for is visibility. Why are the logos put on t-shirt? Because the t-shirts which you get at marathon, you're again going to use it. It will be reusable. So then people are still going to look for it. That is something, that is preserved. Your bib or your, other things, you can discard them. But your t-shirts are something that is more long lasting. And that is why the title sponsor, whoever has sponsorship on the t-shirt, whoever has a maximum sponsorship can get his logo placed on the t-shirt. Understand how an industry works. Then it will be very easier for you to negotiate on behalf of your client. Okay. So you need to talk about rights and benefits. you have to talk about payment and consideration. How is a payment going to be done? Is it a barter deal? Is it a fully paid deal? Are you going to get paid immediately? Are you going to get paid after a couple of days? Will they set up the stall? Will the sponsors set up the stall? Or is the organizer going to set up the stall? All these details you have to discuss. Then comes your exclusivity, whether it's an exclusive contract. That is, if I'm taking sponsorship from X cold drink, can I take sponsorship from Y cold drink? Okay, Y cold drink may not be my sponsor, but Y cold drink company also makes cookies. So can I keep them as sponsor for this event? Do I need to take my title sponsor's permission? All these things come under exclusivity. IP rights, because somebody is going to use your logo, the organizer's logo, as well as the sponsor's logo. So technically, you are giving them an assignment to use it for certain amount of time, only for an X amount of purpose and duration. You have your IPR, you have your term and termination, under what condition you're going to terminate. You have your indemnity and liability, your force majeure, and governing law, the standard clauses that we always have. Okay, so let's talk about parties and definition clause. So I've already mentioned that we'll talk about who is sponsored, what is the person, what is his identity, whether it's an individual person, what does an event include, what are the sponsorship rights, what is the territory. Now, for example, sometimes the same marathon is held in multiple parts of the city, or let's say multiple parts of the country. In that case, are you sponsoring your product in one region, or is it throughout? What media platforms are you going to use? Now, tomorrow, if there is an ad campaign that you're doing, okay, you have a newspaper press release. Earlier, when things were quite popular in newspaper, so is it mandatory for the organizer to mention the sponsor's name in any press release that you give? So if it's a premium sponsor, it's the title sponsor, then yes, it is mandatory. You need to avoid the ambiguity. That is the reason why you have this definition clause. Now you will talk about the scope of sponsorship. So this is your heart of the agreement. In this clause, you very basically need to clearly explain what exactly is being sponsored. You will have different types of sponsorship. You will say that I'm sponsoring cold drinks, I'm sponsoring XYZ, this. You need to mention what event is the organizer organizing. He is organizing a marathon of 3 kilometers, 5 kilometers, 10 kilometers, and the different age groups are under 15, 15 to 25, 25 and above, or whatever it is. Complete detail of the event needs to be mentioned under this particular clause. In which category are you the sponsor? This is again what you will mention over here. Okay, the sponsor will be a gold sponsor for XYZ Marathon 2026. The benefits of the gold sponsor are mentioned in Schedule A. Now, you don't want to make your agreement very lengthy, so therefore you will add all these in detail points in your schedule. Okay. You will also add what are the deliverables of the organizer under such circumstances. So your deliverables will be, one is your logo placement. You will mention whether you will have a standee, your on-ground branding, digital promotions, whatever it is, whatever you are expecting as a deliverable. Now, the organizer can come to you with a standard list of things that they intend to give to the sponsor. But it can always be negotiated. It can always be discussed. Let's talk about the rights and benefits clause. What exactly are the rights that a brand gets in such a case? Now, let's talk about what exactly do the uh, sponsors want. So sponsors usually want proper logo placement. Like even before you print your creative, before you send a social media post, the creative is always run through the sponsor, showing that your brand will come here, it will come here. This is how we are going to do the uh, logo placement. Until and unless it is approved by the brand, you cannot proceed further. It is a given. Then comes your holdings. Again, all the creatives will be shared with your sponsors. The organizer cannot go moto Goa. Your digital promotion, you're going to promote it on social media, whether it is through reels. Okay, how many reels are you planning to release? Whether it is going to be 3 to 12 in a month, what is your advertisement, your digital marketing duration, whether it is 45 days before the event, 30 days before the event, whether you're going to get any celebrity to promote it. If yes, then will the sponsor get anything more? For example, the celebrity mentioning about the brand or the brand's name being mentioned in such an event. All these things have to be mentioned in this clause. So that is what I said, that every clause will be amended according to their requirement. Then comes your social media mentions, influencer integrations. What are the benefits that you are getting? If you have any athlete endorsements, because it's a sports agreement, all those things, you have to clearly mention what exactly is the duration, whether it's an exclusivity clause. For example, the brand wants to sponsor your marathon and it's sponsoring some other marathon in other city. Can they do it? Is it exclusive? All these things you have to discuss in advance. You don't want any competing brand, or you don't want XYZ brand should not be your sponsor if you have me on board. Otherwise, I will back out. All these things are not restraint in trade, but you need to mutually agree to all these things. These clauses are something that you would negotiate before entering into an agreement. Now, when you talk about negotiating point, organizers usually want flexibility. That is what my experience says, and sponsors always want exclusivity. So balancing this thin line is what is your duty as a lawyer, depending on whose side you are. Okay. Then comes your payment and your payment. Now, always draft this clause. Wherever there is money involved, always be careful. You need to mention what is the total sponsorship amount. How is the payment going to be made? Usually, the entire payment is made before the event is conducted. Only after that, the creatives are issued. What will be the mode of payment? Whether taxes are included, taxes will be excluded. Is it a donation that you're taking? Whatever, everything, especially with respect to tax compliance. All the tax compliance are usually taken care of by the brand. Okay. If you are charging a GST or a service tax or whatever it is your duty as an organizer to deposit the same. Okay. So any penalty will it be added, whether deliverables and payment schedule, are they linked together? All these things you need to draft before you even send across an agreement for negotiation. Your exclusivity clause. Okay. So as I said, the brand always wants exclusivity. So The reason you have it is so that your competitor is not taking your limelight, not sharing your limelight, and it gives a unique visibility. There is no comparison between two brands. That is the reason for exclusivity. So therefore, I said Section 27 of Contract Act doesn't apply over here. For example, a soft drink brand may demand a category exclusively. Now, sometimes what happens is if there is over restriction, then it limits the organizer's revenue. If you say that you cannot have a competing soft drink, okay, then it's perfectly all right. But if you say that you cannot have any competing products, that is, there are 15, 20 competing products that are there in the market for me. You cannot have any product by these brands. That will be very unfair to the organizers. So next time, whenever you're watching an award show, you're watching advertisements for a marathon, think about these points, okay, and how an agreement must have been drafted for the same. So next, let's talk about your media and IP rights. So this is where you have to be thorough with your copyright and all the laws, okay? Let's talk about logos. Now, logo is something that is owned. One which belongs to the organizer is owned by them. One which belongs to the brand is owned by them. Okay. All the logos, trademarks, event footages will belong to the respective party. For example, if it is the organizer who has got their own social media team and they are shooting content while the marathon is going on, then the ownership of the original content belongs to the belongs to the organizers. Now, in your agreement, you can mention that you will get a raw footage of X amount, or you can have your own social media team to create content, because of course everybody is doing this for visibility. The main intention for a sponsorship agreement is visibility. So there has to be certain clauses where you need to leeway. Okay, you can't be very strict. So you can also give an option that the sponsors can also get their own social media team and create their own content which will belong exclusively to them. Now, the logo, you have to license the logo. This licensing and all doesn't come much in detail. If it's a small if it's a small event. But if it's a huge event, yes, you need to enter into licensing agreement. You can mention the duration of use. What is the territory? That is, you are conducting this marathon only in Mumbai. So only the Mumbai newspapers will carry your logo. It will carry your details. Morality and conduct clause, again, it protects usually the sponsors from any reputational damage. That is in case if there are any wrong misconducts that happen during the event, during the unfortunate event, then it allows termination easily. Now let's talk about termination. Again, you will mention the duration of termination. This agreement is usually valid till the end of the event. Now, post-event, if you have some social media campaign which are still going to run, usually for 1 week, we do have social media promotions. So you will mention about the same. Termination, it usually is triggered when there is a breach, when there is insolvency, there is force majeure, and you also need to include your exit strategy. When I talk about exit strategy, that is in case if this doesn't work out, you have to give each other 1 month notice, 15 days notice, all that you will mention. Then comes a force majeure. Again, standard clause. Now you can see that the war is happening. So what are the, what do you say? So what are the, okay, there is a war, so you can't have an event. Have to, you cannot proceed ahead with the same. In such a case, what are you? All these things you have to mention. Now, what are the key negotiation challenges? Your negotiation challenges are usually what is the valuation of sponsorship rights? You are going to measure what exactly is your return on investment. How much are you going to get return? As I said, you cannot have anything that is financial. It has to be something that, okay, 10,000 people are going to wear your t-shirt. We are expecting a visibility. We are expecting X amount of social media visibility. We are expecting this. We are expecting that. A rough, practical detail should always be mentioned. Why am I saying again and again to have a practical, what do you say, a very doable and practical deliverable, so that tomorrow nobody can take you to court saying that you have not provided us with A, B, C, D things. So ambush marketing. So what happens is usually a lot of people who are not sponsoring, they try to associate with the event. Sometimes it happens. Competing brands, they also try to advertise during the same event. And this act, it leads to brand dilution and also legal disputes. And that is why this whole idea of having legal exclusivity is very important. So what are the challenges that an event organizer faces? You have to secure multiple sponsors without conflict. Okay. So while your sales team is planning, you need to know how and which brands you're going to approach. You need to deliver the promised visibility. If you have said that, 10,000 participants is what I'm expecting, you have to get at least 8,000. See, अगर आप 10,000 बोल के 1,000 आते हैं, then it's a real big issue. But if you promise 10,000 and you get only 8,000 registrations, then it's okay. It's still a huge difference, but still better. You have to manage the logistics and compliance. You need to protect the IP and broadcast right. Now you are conducting a marathon. Okay, somebody shoots some random video to just defame you. This damage control, because a video was posted to defame you, has to be controlled. This damage control, if anything happens, has to be done by the organizers. So any breach, any reputation damage has to be borne by the organizer. Okay, even if any reputation damage occurs during the event, how it happens, all that you need to discuss. So what are the challenges that the sponsors face? One is definitely ensuring the return on investment. Monetarily, you may not get, but yes, visibility you need to ensure. How am I going to do? I need to ensure that my stall, whatever space they have given, have utilized well. The quality of products that I send to such an event is of top notch. I cannot send rejected samples. I cannot send expired products. All these are the liabilities of the sponsor. The packaging, if I'm giving products, okay, the packaging of my products has to be in such a way that there is no damage. You need to protect yourself from reputational risk. You need to monitor the deliverables. Sometimes you end up overpaying for underperformance. So you need to negotiate your terms of deliveries accordingly. Now, for organizers, how are you going to negotiate? So these last 2-3 slides I've just been talking about the negotiation terms and negotiation strategies. Remember, until and unless you don't know what to negotiate, how to negotiate, you will never be able to protect your client. And drafting is not something that you're doing for money. Drafting is something that you're doing to protect the client, give them their rights, to avoid future disputes. Okay, so you need to clearly define your deliverables, avoid over promising, do your basic calculations. You say you are expecting an audience of 1,000 and 1,500 people turn up, that's perfectly all right. If you're expecting an audience of 1,000, 700, 800 turn up, that's perfectly all right. But if you're promising 1,000 and only 50 turn up, then it's a huge disaster. You need to ensure exclusivity so that there is no brand dilution. You need to maintain all the compliances. You have to ensure that the logo of the sponsors is not misused anywhere. Okay. Again, if you are on behalf of the sponsor, you have to do your due diligence and your research very well. You need to talk, or you need to always negotiate on the visibility clauses. That is one thing that you have to look in. Include your performance metrics. That is, if in social media I get X amount of visibility, then this much amount payment will be done. You need to add good exit clauses. That if A, B, C, D is not complied with, I'm going to exit this agreement. You have to ensure the brand protection. Always use clear language. You don't need to use any fancy language or fancy terms. One thing I usually do is I always have simple agreements. Okay, define your agreements, define your documents in a very simple way. Just give me a minute. I'm just trying to upload the agreement that I'll be teaching you after this. Uploading takes a while. Yeah, it's done. So always define your timelines and deliverables very precisely. No giving unrealistic expectations, no unrealistic developments and all. You have to anticipate disputes before drafting any agreement. Don't think that the front person is going to accept your document. They are always going to be challenged. Okay, so be ready for the same. So sponsorship agreements are usually commercial, legal, and strategic too. Your contracts are nothing but strategy. Your success is usually dependent on clear drafting. As I said, use simple language, balanced negotiation, and you have to take that risk. You need to convince both your clients that this is a very contingent contract that we are drafting. You have to anticipate XYZ risk. You have to anticipate XYZ risk. Otherwise, it is going to be a disaster. Okay. So this was in short with respect to how to draft an agreement. Now I'll show you an actual sports agreement. Just give me a minute. I'll just add the document to the screen. So this is a rough agreement which we have for a gold sponsor. It's just a fake agreement that I've created just for your understanding. It's again, as I said, there's a marathon going on for which you have a cold drink who is sponsoring the said event. So you will have the name of the organizer, registered office. Again, you will add the details of the board resolution and who is the person. You have the sponsor, details of the sponsor. It is usually a company. Now your purpose. Why are you entering into this agreement? Now you will mention your organizer. He's organizing a marathon named so and so, which is scheduled on so and so date. You will mention the space place where it is going to be conducted. Now you will say the sponsor, he has agreed to be a golden sponsor and under the terms and conditions of the agreement which are mentioned in here under. So you will talk about what exactly is the sponsorship about. You will talk what is gold sponsorship, what are the rights that you have. So this is what you will get. You will get prominent branding, you get your display, inclusion of sponsors name on t-shirt, participant t-shirt, etc. You can set up brand distribution corners, brand visibility promotions also. All the pre-negotiated terms you can add here. What are the obligations of the sponsors? So the sponsor is going to give you products. They are going to give you 10,000 of their cold drink bottle of X ml. Let's say you will ensure that these products are delivered 1 day prior or 2 day prior. All the quality safety regulations, everything is carried out by the sponsor. You can set up how many counters are you giving. So you're giving 5, let's say it's a 5-kilometer marathon. So at every 1 kilometer, you're giving them a booth. So there you can have a 10 feet by 10 feet booth at the location which is designated by the organizer. You need to ensure all the counters are branded and operational during the event. You have to deploy adequate staff for the same. Price distribution, if you're giving a curated hamper, then that you can put. Now, what are the organizers' obligations? This is not mandatory. So these deliverables are something that will depend totally on your negotiation. Okay. So you have your organizers' obligation that will be about branding and visibility. Where all are you going to give them the branding? You will tell them that the sponsor is going to give you X 10 by 10 feet. You need to ensure all the utilities are, you want a fridge there. So you need X amount of voltage, electricity, everything will be provided by the sponsor. Now you need to ensure there is smooth event management. There is a coordinator who's talking about the brand. So, within every break and all, you quite often hear that the brand name is mentioned. We are thankful to our brand partners, so and so who has sponsored XYZ. You can go to XYZ store. All these announcements, the number of announcements that will be made, everything is mentioned in an agreement. You will talk about what is the intellectual property rights, who has got a non-exclusive royalty-free license. Okay, what is the exclusivity? The sponsor shall be the exclusive cold drink partner for the event. You will not have any other sponsor. You have the term and termination. Okay, what happens? When can the termination happen? What happens in case of termination? You will have the force majeure. What happens if, there is force majeure conditions like natural disaster, civil disturbance? Then you will notify the other party and you will take a mutually agreeable decision. Then your indemnity. Now, against what is the sponsor going to indemnify? Against what is the organizer going to indemnify? You will mention all these details. Liability. Now, what happens if there is a breach of contract or if there is any consequential damage? Okay. Liability will be only till the amount you are sponsoring the event. That is due to some, let's say, due to some unfortunate incident, there is some disobedience and due to which one of the booths is damaged. So in that particular case, it is the sponsor who will have to compensate to the, it is the organizer who will compensate to the sponsor. Then comes your confidentiality, which is basically to protect the information of whatever you're going to share, whether it's your financial transaction, any information which you don't want to share in the public platform. You have your governing law and jurisdiction. Again, this will be more elaborate depending on your term to term, depending on your negotiation. These are what you call as boilerplate clauses, which are there in almost every agreement. So you have your entire agreement, amendment, notice where it will be sent. Now, these are some interesting customized clause, which is your media and broadcasting rights. As I said, whether how much, to what extent you are going to permit the organizers to use your name for sponsorship. Now, remember, when a big brand is getting associated with a small organizer, they are also lending their goodwill. So, if you are aware about the trademark law, you know the importance of goodwill, you know the value of a logo. So, that is why this particular clause plays a huge role, where it will be visible, what are third party broadcasting rights, what are the restrictions, etc. Then you will talk about social media deliverables. How much and to what extent are you going to allow the brand's name to be used in social media? For example, these days it's a trend. Whenever there is an event, uh, the social media team creates some memes. Okay. Are you going to allow your sponsor's brand to be associated with such a meme? I'm not sure how many brands would agree the same. All these things you have to check with your social media team and then communicate the same to the brand. What extent are you going to allow them to integrate, to use their name? You have your influencer engagement. If you are having any influencer activity before the marathon, to what extent are you giving the visibility to the brand? All these are negotiation terms basically, which you will be adding in the agreement. Then comes your data sharing and privacy compliance. So you need to ensure that all the information which is confidential is protected. Now, the organizers will be collecting a lot of private data of the participants. Now, it is, are they going to share it with the sponsors? That is something that is you need to discuss. Okay, so it is not only visibility, there are a lot of other things that a sponsor gains while sponsoring an agreement. So you know you are getting a ready-made database. If the sponsor wants to conduct a survey over there, hi, can you taste our cold drink and tell us how do you like it? What is the taste? May I have your name, email ID, phone number? That is data which is collected. When you are registering with the for the marathon, usually you will have an option saying that this information will be shared with the third parties. Are you fine with that? Many a times this line is there, but we barely read it. We are in such a hurry to fill the form that we ignore reading the most important commitments. Read it carefully. So, are you going to share the personal information of participants with your gold sponsors? Again, a point that is legal but has to be negotiated. To what extent are you going to use the data? Then comes your sustainability and environment responsibility. Now, you have been given 5, okay, in this particular agreement. It is your duty as a sponsor to ensure that there is no damage. Marathons are usually held on roads. If there is any damage that is caused due to the negligence of the sponsor, it is the sponsor who is going to be responsible. You will try to ensure that you'll have proper waste management, no damage is caused, etc. Insurance. Now you can take out an insurance for the event, but that is on your own. The organizers are not going to sponsor any insurance. Okay, so both parties can take their own insurance. The sponsors usually take something that is called as a product liability insurance, which covers the risk that arises from consumption of beverage. Public liability insurance is something that the sponsors can have for their counters and their operations. Organizers can also have event liability insurance, which usually covers accidents, injuries, or damages which occurs due at the event. Now you both have to show your proof of event, proof of your insurance. Then comes your standard signature clause. So this was in short, very briefly with respect to the sponsorship agreement for a marathon event. Uh, Again, as I said, everything has to be customized according to your requirement. If you have any further queries, you can just drop it down in the comment section and I'll try to answer them in the upcoming session. So thank you so much.